Let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of the program. Merely Bo and the Great Z. How you living, buddy?
Doing great, man. Nice little Tuesday.
Little Tuesday for the kids.
Tuesday program. You got a nice little comeback from the GOAT last night. Not good enough for us. Thanks for nothing. But still fun to see him do that, and also puts in perspective what our defense was able to do against him 2 weeks ago in similar clutch
He was
situations.
really bad for 3.5 quarters.
Yeah, but then he was. then he was not.
He was. This is really the Saints. I mean, the Saints had they'd given up 3 points. Ingram's already apologized for going out of bounds. Like, all they have to do is run clock. It's over. It's just a stunning failure on their end. I've got this great system that I got running right now on my Sunday and Monday nights in games that I don't have a vested interest. So games we don't play in, games the Bengals don't play in, the teams that I got to pay attention to closely. So here's the process. I watch until halftime. As soon as I know we're headed to half, then I pop in to White Lotus or Yellowstone.
Yep.
So I do White Lotus Sundays, Yellowstone last night. As soon as I know it's coming to half and there's no more action, then I pop into the show. Those shows are like 50-some minutes. I jump it. The timing usually works that I miss all of halftime and much of the third quarter, but pop in for the fourth. So it's a nice flow, and then I watch the end of the game if the game's competitive. That's been the flow that I've gone with.
I like that flow.
It's nice. Flow. It's a nice way to go about it to consume your NFL when we have to consume, and we do consume so much of it. But I do like that break in there. And so you watch this game, and as I went to watch, and as it turned out last night, it was Yellowstone. As I went to watch, I was thinking to myself, well, we're not going to get a cover here, which sucks because you just knew it and just didn't have the vibe for it. Tampa Bay's not very good. And here's news. They're not. And you probably question everything. If you're Brady, you're questioning everything that you did and why is it so bad so quick there? They can't really protect, and I think a lot of it starts there. They have a lot of injuries up front, obviously.
Yep.
So he's got a little bit of happy feet, sailing some balls, made some brutal reads, so forth. And yet, when it came down to the end and New Orleans is inexplicably still playing Dalton, and for whatever reason. And so, like, you knew they weren't going to get the third down they needed. And so he gets the ball back, and you go, well, he's going to go win. He's going to win 17-16. I told my wife, I said 17-16 bucks. Book it. That's where we're headed.
And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, that was it.
Rashad White with 3 seconds to go from 6 yards out on a pass from Brady.
Yeah.
And there it was. Incredible.
Yeah, it was. They're a playoff team. It's done now. The other teams in that division I think they'll all push to Tankapalooza, don't you? Although the Saints doesn't do them any good because the Eagles have their pick. Are you aware of that?
It does not do that, right? Because of the
Olave.
Yep.
So the Eagles had I believe I have this right. The Eagles had 3 ones last year. They did a pick swap and gave up one of their ones to New Orleans so that New Orleans could pick Olave. New Orleans gave up, and then a 6th goes to New Orleans. I think I have this right. Philly got a 3rd last year. The the Saints first this year, and a 2 in 2024.
And then what did they give them? Was Chauncey Gardner-Johnson also a part of that, or was that a separate trade?
I think that's separate. I don't know if that is or not, but that was the way that worked, to where the Eagles had 3 number ones. Now this year they have 2 number ones, their own and the Saints number 1.
Yep.
Which now could be a top 10 pick. I think right now it's in the top 10. And that's how they maneuvered that. Like Howie Roseman working some magic there with a bunch of number 1s. Now Olave's a dude, for sure. So if you're New Orleans,
A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
And Devontae Smith.
Yeah,
right.
so it works out well. No, I'm not saying they would have drafted him. I'm just saying from the Saints' perspective, it's not like they missed on the pick.
No, Saints.
Olave's a dude. It's just they don't have a quarterback, so why are you giving up a lot to get a receiver when you don't have a quarterback?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I left it. That's one of the strangest stories.
I can't imagine that they would be less dangerous with Jameis at quarterback. In fact, I think they would be more dangerous. And right now, offense has been their problem.
You would think at the very least that there would be you think at very least it would be, make defenses think a little bit more. There's not a whole lot for defenses to think about with that New Orleans team right now.
No.
And they're really good defensively. Just offensively, they're a mess.
They're a mess, and that's what I'm saying. They'd be more dangerous, I believe, with Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Why not give him a shot?
Unless they just don't – I don't know. They must not like it. I don't understand it. We are in a position now I was thinking about this with Burrow. Let me run this by you.
Okay.
Is Burrow the best number one pick juxtaposed with the position he was drafted and the place he was drafted since Manning?
Luck.
Well, and speaking of, there's an incredible story today from Seth Wickersham on ESPN about Andrew Luck and why he made the decisions. It's long. I mean, it's War and Peace long, but it's an incredible – it's the first time Luck's ever talked since all of this. So he's been a mystery man. Go ahead.
By the way, I was just looking this up while we were talking about Jameis. Jameis last year in 7 games as the starter for the Saints was 5-2.
Yeah, but remember, I remember watching those games and going, like, they're doing it despite him. Like, he was brutal in a lot of those games.
59% completion.
There you go.
14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, quarterback rating of 103.
I think that there was a couple, I remember this vividly because it was like it didn't match with the games. He had a couple of games early where he was statistically, I think, dominant, and then it fell off pretty quickly. There was like a game in week 3. Like if memory serves, they like whipped the Packers in Jacksonville in the opener or something like that.
Well, hold on. I'm
going
to pull them up.
Pull up the game log. There's like a game in my head. There's a game in week 3 or 4 where he falls off a cliff.
All right, week 1 they beat Green Bay 38-3. Okay. He throws for 5 touchdowns in that one.
That's the stat pattern.
Okay, but just not really. Week 2 they lose to Carolina. He throws no touchdowns, 2 picks. Week 3 they beat New England 13-21, 128, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Week 4 they lose to the Giants. He goes 17-23 for 226, a touchdown, no pick, rating of 119. Week 5 they beat Washington 15 of 30 for 279, 4 scores, 1 pick, 108 rating.
30 though, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, but 108 rating,
but
279.
They got guys who were getting deep. They had that kid who got the deep balls.
You're not giving this guy any credit. The guy had a quarterback rating of 100 plus.
Credit. I'm just saying it's not what the stats make you believe it was in those games.
He had a quarterback rating of more than 105 of the 7 games. He was pretty consistently good. He only turned the ball over in 2 of 7 games. He had 2 picks in week 2, and the week 5 he had 1 pick. He had 4 touchdowns in that game. The next week they beat Seattle. He throws for 222, a touchdown, no picks. And then the next week they beat Tampa. That's the game that he gets hurt in. He goes 6 of 10 for 56 yards on the opening drive with 108 rating, a touchdown, and gets knocked out of the game, and that was it. So he actually played well.
I remember I watched several of those games early, and I don't remember.
You may have watched Carolina. He was dreadful.
No, I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have watched that game because what would have been the purpose for that? I wouldn't have any ties to Carolina. I just remember watching a game and even texting you and go, I think we have this wrong because he was missing stuff left and right.
I'm sure he was, but he's better than Dalton.
No. I'm not disputing that. That's why I said it's one of the strangest things in the league that he doesn't. Why is he not playing unless they've seen enough? They've clearly seen enough. Like whatever we want to bring up, they've seen enough. The Bucs saw enough. Whether it's something in personality or whatever, it ain't there. Like they don't want it.
The problem with the Bucs was that he was throwing interceptions, but he was not doing that as a quarterback.
But there's clearly something. Like if he was all of the things that we think that he could have been,
I'm not saying he's a number 1. I'm saying he's better than Andy Dalton.
I don't disagree with you.
That's all I'm saying.
It's crazy though. They obviously don't feel like that. It doesn't make any sense to me, but they don't. Back to the Burrow conversation.
Yes.
Think about the ones we had. Baker cut yesterday by Carolina, hasn't been picked up yet. Think about the number 1 overall picks who have not lasted at all. I mean, it used to be if you were one of those guys, if you think of there's a lot of guys back in the day that were number 1 and then they'd hang around. The last 20 years, I mean, Luck's of his own volition, he was going to be special, but he got beat up.
Yep.
Winston, a lot of them were. Oh gosh.
Baker, no.
Couch, Carr. I'll pull them up, but I mean, that's just Baker. The crazy thing about Burrow,
Goff actually stacks up pretty well.
I was going to say he was the other one I came up with. He was the other one I came up with that was like, you know what? It's not a disaster.
Not a disaster at all.
And the rest of a lot of these guys though, it's really brutal.
Yeah.
When you think of it over the last 20 years or so. So in terms of quarterback, obviously we can even start since when we came back with the Tim Couch draft. So Manning goes the year before, so it's 98. So you miss it by a year. The year before Manning, and I think Manning didn't matter who he went to, they were going to be good.
Yep.
So Couch in 99, Vic in 01. Now he was, but undid on his own of his own stuff off the field. David Carr, Eli Manning was. Absolutely was. I'll get to him in a second. Jamarcus Russell, Stafford was. Bradford was not.
Nope.
Cam was.
Yep.
But it was like Vic,
MVP,
just a
went
short
to a Super
window.
Bowl.
Yeah, short window, relatively speaking. Luck, no. Winston, no. Jared Goff, sorta. Baker, no. Kyler, jury's
We'll
out.
see.
Jury's out. Burrow, yes, absolutely. And then Trevor, we'll see.
Yeah, Goff feels like top 5 from there.
Yeah, I think it's, if you're probably ranking them, it's, what is it? It's Burrow, it's Stafford. Burrow's early, obviously. Eli, those guys hit.
No doubt.
Some real misses in there, though, too.
It's hard.
It's really hard, man. It's really hard. Could you name the number 1 pick from last year's NFL draft off the top of your head?
The one that just happened this year? Walker for the Jags.
Tough, though, right? Trevon Walker.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anybody write about him, say anything about him.
No, I've heard a lot about Aiden Hutchinson, who went second.
I have.
I haven't heard anything about Trevon. What's it?
I have no idea.
I'll
I don't know
look
if
up
he's
the
working
stats.
or not.
Trevon Walker.
I mean, this list is like a who's who. There was another draft, like Eric Fisher, 13, was the number 1 overall pick at Kansas City.
Here we go. Trevon Walker. He has started 12 games. He has 2.5 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 2 passes defensed. Not great.
Not great.
No.
One of the guys on that list who we went through who was great was Eli Manning. Good to great. 2 Super Bowls. So last night on the Manning cast, a couple of things. Randy Moss was amazing and was incredibly inquisitive and wanted to have like football conversations with them. And they were both so locked into the next question in the script.
Get out of that.
Instead of just listening. I would tell that if you're kids out here and you listen to us, thank you. If you're trying to start podcasts or whatever, kids who are trying to get into the business, you really need to listen to interviews. You need to listen to the people you're interviewing.
It's a conversation.
It is a conversation that is being had. And there is this notion that you have to go to the next thing that's on a list of things that have to be accomplished. Let the conversation take you where it takes you. If it goes off the rails, you steer it back in. But he started telling this incredible story that I was so intrigued in about Randy Moss visiting Tennessee as a high school player, and Peyton Manning wasn't there for the visit. It was an official visit, and Manning wasn't there. He was in Virginia visiting his now wife. He drove back at 3:00 in the morning to try to get there to meet with Randy. And they had like this funny back and forth, and Randy's talking about going to the basketball game at Tennessee, but his heart was already set at Notre Dame. Peyton made this funny joke about, I didn't even see her face. She had a hoodie on the whole time, like that type of stuff. Like, it was a really funny thing, and they hit right back with, hey, you went and snuck into the hotel with the Patriots. And it's like, you're on it, man.
Yeah,
You've got it.
You've got it. It was like when Kirk Cousins was like, how do we beat cover 0? What would you guys do? And they're like, oh, great question. We'll get to that after the break. And they come back from the break, and they're right back on their script. As
Back
if
to the
never
script.
Happened. Yeah.
It was a shame.
It was GMAT. When you know GMAT, with all the energy and enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah.
Allen, he would always say in an interview, you are on the freeway and you're driving and you know where it's going, but it's a conversation, and they're going to give you off ramps.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hear a good off ramp, take it. Don't
Take
be
it,
afraid.
man.
Don't be afraid to take that off ramp and go and take it down that road.
You have to listen.
Yeah.
Man, you've got to. The other thing that I thought from it that was interesting was, so last night Brady passes Peyton Manning as the winning or the most fourth quarter comebacks in NFL history with the win, and they put the graphic up. And
what was the number? Do you remember?
it was a lot.
54,
it was in the
45,
50s, 40. I thought it was in the 40s, like 49 or some 45.
40,
I don't know, something.
Some in the 40s.
It was a lot. And they put the graphic up, and I've been watching the whole game, and I know like they're friendly, like they do the golf stuff and all of that. But the cuts run deep, man. Like, Manning was without question rooting for the Saints. There's no question he was rooting for the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he has an opportunity to take like a backhanded shot at the Patriots for like Spygate or any of the cheating stuff, he does. And there was no question that as Brady got the ball back, he was rooting for the Saints to not let him. Now, I don't know if it's as personal as just, I would like one record left because all the rest of you guys have broken all the rest of them.
It's 44
Yeah,
comeback.
44.
So I don't know if
I had
it's
it
that.
on my notes. I knew I
It was 44.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was that part or just 12 years of going head-to-head with the guy. It's hard to unbreak that.
Well, and there was the great exchange with Robin Roberts where he said, that Brady was so stingy with all those rings.
Mm-hmm.
And he like goes, well, not with me.
Yeah.
And Tom was not pleased. I mean, Peyton was not pleased with that at all.
No.
He did not like that.
I don't. It's funny when you talk to Gerard about things and who he hates more than anything. It is the Indianapolis Colts and Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Like there is no. It does not matter about anybody else or any other teams that they played or in their own division or whatever. He's like, I refuse to even acknowledge Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Well, they did they were the ones who called him out, told on him for Deflategate through Bob Kravitz, who was a writer at the Indianapolis newspaper at the time.
A great human.
Very good, longtime NFL dude. But I think there's just a lot of bitterness.
Well, yeah,
across
the Patriots
board.
thwarted the Colts many a time, and then the Colts got rules changed because of the way that they were physical with the Colts receivers. And so, there's a lot of animosity and trying to change the way the game is played to cater to your strengths. I'm no doubt.
It's interesting, though, really, when you think of those Colts failures, I don't necessarily always think of their failures against New England. I think about losing in the Super Bowl to a Saints team that they had the lead at half and don't recover an onside kick. That was pretty brutal.
Basket.
Yeah. I think about there was a loss in an AFC Championship game to Pittsburgh.
That was the year that the Steelers won it.
Yeah.
That was Roethlisberger's rookie year.
Yeah. I mean, like, that was a strange loss. Don't they have a loss to, like, the Chargers in the postseason?
They would lose for a couple times.
Weird.
When they had a bye.
Yeah.
And then they would rest, and then they would lose that first game.
Right.
At home.
So it wasn't always New England getting them.
No.
It was that New England, when New England got there, they went and won it.
Yeah.
The one time they did win it, they did beat New England to get there. But it wasn't like it was all just New England as the thorn.
Isn't it crazy? So Peyton Manning's 2 Super Bowls, one was New Orleans, and they lose on an onside kick, basically. I mean, that kind of changed the game. And then Tracy Porter, I want to say, had a pick six. And then the other one was Rex Grossman.
So they beat the Bears and Rex Grossman
in the rain.
In the rain in Miami.
Yep.
They lost to the Saints.
Yep.
Then they got the year that he set all the records, they got annihilated by the Seahawks.
When he was with the Broncos.
Yep. In the outdoor stadium. And then he won it when he was a shell of his former self.
They beat
in Denver with Carolina and Cam Newton.
In San Francisco.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But at that point, he was game manager at best. But yeah, when
smoked by the Seahawks.
Oh my God. It was a pick six. I feel like it was like, wasn't it pick six? And then Percy Harvin punt return touchdown, like boom, boom.
It was over,
and it was 14-0 and over before they even
correct before the halfway point of the first quarter.
Correct. I think it was it was 14-0 before. I want to say his first throw was pick six, or one of them early. It was really early. There was a pick six, and for some reason in my head, I think there's a Harvin punt return touchdown in that one as well, or a punt return inside.
Started off with a safety.
Safety, was it, Nick?
Yeah, it was a safety. It started off with the safety.
So is it 16-0 before
First offensive play of the game, snap out of the shotgun, resulted in the safety.
That's right.
The Broncos turned the ball over 4 times and had 11 total yards in the first quarter. They didn't score until the third quarter came to an end.
So the pick six that you're thinking of made it 22-0. The pick six you're thinking of made it 22-0.
Okay.
Then it feels like the second half opens with Percy Harvin returning the kick 87 yards for a touchdown to make it 29-0. I mean, then it was 36-0 before they scored at the end of the third quarter, and the final was 43-8.
So out of the safety,
then field goal, and it's 8-0.
So it's 8-0.
Seahawks finally score on a 7-play, 37-yard drive, which means there had to be a turnover, my guess. And that makes it
43-8.
Then the pick six, 22, and then the kick return, 29-0.
Jeez, beat down.
Manning in the game, 34 of 49, 280 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He was sacked once.
Super Bowl record for completions in a game, by the way.
Is it really?
Russ, 18 of 25, 206 and 2. Percy Harvin, 2 carries for 45 yards. Marshawn Lynch, 15 rushes, only 39 yards, and a touchdown.
No Sean Marino.
Yep.
Oh, sure.
Was Denver's running
Who's
back.
your MVP of that Super Bowl?
That was the one, wasn't it?
I think
it
was
Malcolm,
Russ.
Was it Malcolm Smith? Was that the Malcolm Smith one? No.
I don't
Oh,
know.
no,
Malcolm Smith?
Malcolm Smith.
Malcolm Smith was the Super Bowl
The
MVP.
242nd overall selection of the 2011 draft, picking off Manning, returning it for a touchdown, en route to the Super Bowl MVP award.
And he
So
recovered
that
a
made
fumble.
that
and
made
he
it
had 10
22.
tackles. The pick six made it 22,
Okay.
and then the kick return made it 29. Nothing to start the third quarter.
Okay. Jeez.
Yeah, Malcolm Smith, former Brown.
How about that?
Still a free agent out there, isn't he?
Yeah, so we need linebackers.
Just throwing it out there.
There you go. All right, OBM, the official printer partner of your Cleveland Browns. When you depend on the Browns to win, you can always depend on OBM. They'll tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. Lots of fun on the program today. We got a little better or worse one thought as well. Yahoo's Charles Robinson will join us in the second hour of the program. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from the podium. We're off and running. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become part of the family. Visit Rumpke.com to learn more. As we put the Texans game to bed, what was the mood around the team Sunday, post-game, the way back? What was kind of the vibe you felt, pal?
Overall, I would say it was a very positive vibe. I think people thought it was kind of a weird game. It didn't go the way people wanted it to go necessarily or thought it might go, but a win is a win, and anytime you win in the NFL, it matters. And so there was a lot of excitement about that win. I think that the defense, and especially for Mike Prefer and the special teams unit, I think that there was a lot of joy in the fact that they're Joe Woods' defense and Mike Prefer's special teams really came through in a big way and contributed very much to this win, scoring 3 touchdowns for the Browns. And I think that there was also some sadness about the loss of Sione Takitaki. My friend Kenny is devastated by the loss of Takitaki, as many of us are. And so I think there was also some sadness around that. But overall, certainly a very positive feeling because you went to Houston with one goal to win, and you did that.
Yeah, I think that there's I think the rest of it is stuff that we do. Talking head people do the rest of the stuff. But when you're in a game, that it's pretty binary. And to come out with a win, you get it, and you're on to the next. Offensively, we talked quite a bit about this yesterday, and it'll just be about I think the word I keep coming back to with Deshaun is just not comfortable. That's 2 words, obviously. Uncomfortable is probably the better way to say that. He just never seemed like himself in there. And I think you were hopeful that it would seem a little more like no time has passed, but in reality, 700 days is a lot of days.
Yeah, and those days showed up, and he said he felt every single one of them. It was his mechanics were off, his footwork was off, the timing was a little bit off, the rhythm. And so 12 of 22, 131 yards, 1 interception, rating of 53.4, the lowest of his career. We've talked about it. It was also the first time in his career that he has been the quarterback of a team in the National Football League that failed to score an offensive touchdown. So it's going to get better from there. And, that was his first week of getting all the reps in how long? So it is different. Practice cannot simulate games in the National Football League, but I do think that he is going to bounce back, and be better. Will it be what you need it to be soon enough to take down the Cincinnati Bengals? That's the question that's out there right now.
Yeah, I think the other big takeaway here is we've got a real issue at receiver now. You've got a lack of health. That's a problem. I'm hopeful. Where are we with the Chief? Are we hopeful? Fingers crossed?
I'm more than hopeful. Optimistic that the Chief will be back this week.
That would be a critical.
That's huge. Then you have 3 guys in the passing game again that you can really work with, and that's really what you need to be effective.
Well, because right now it is 2.
Right.
Based, where you got injury problems and you have can you count on people? So it's a really, really thin room right now.
Yep.
At wide receiver. Offensive line, I'm watching on television, it didn't feel like our best performance there, certainly on the 2 edges.
No, Jed really struggled in this game. Gave up 5 pressures, according to Pro Football Focus, and he's going to have to be better dealing with a very good pass rushing duo, and especially Trey Hendrickson, that I'm sure he'll get a lot of work against in this game against the Bengals.
Yeah, Hubbard and Hendrickson work well together, so that will certainly be a problem for their defense. And we'll do matchups tomorrow. Their defenses, or meet the Bengals tomorrow. Their defense is pretty sturdy and has been
well
for a while. They've won now 4 in a row, including that one Sunday over Kansas City.
So their last loss was to us?
Yep. Special teams, it was good to get a sturdy performance there. This was the performance of the year for Mike Prefer's unit. You had a special teams touchdown from Donovan Peoples-Jones on the punt return, and Cade seemed like he hit them all true.
Yep.
So that was good to see. Did any of them wobble in the building?
No, I thought he was good. Some wonky kickoffs. There were a couple kickoffs where he kind of missed the ball and hit those low line drives. But I mean, the field goals were great. Corey Bojorquez continues to punt very well at a high level, and so that I thought was very encouraging. And then not only did you score a touchdown, you forced a fumble. Kunashik popped the ball out that Tony Fields recovered. So yeah, best special teams performance. Still, you could clean up on the kickoff after the safety. Allowing a 50-yard return when he had 3 guys around him. That was not good, but for the most part, certainly a plus performance from the special teams unit.
Jim said something yesterday that I thought was pretty pointed and I think appropriate when talking about Cade York, that he's got to figure out how to kick in his own building and kick here. And that's something that's just going to take some time, isn't it? Because you can feel how this place getting people's heads kicking down there.
No doubt, and you think about the fact that Cade York, started the season 8 of 8, then hit a 9 for 15 stretch, which is 60%.
Yes,
not great, and then was able to kind of get it back together, which was good to see. But I can think of the extra point he missed was at First Energy. He missed 2 in the game at First Energy against the Chargers. He had a miss at First Energy in the last game against the Bucks that we won. So it's tough. It's tough, and getting better at First Energy Stadium will be huge.
Yeah, and this one Sunday down in Cincinnati, not as raucous a situation in terms of the wind and the
No.
gusts and all of that, but it'll probably be cold.
And it's turf, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you have that right.
Yeah, so
What are we headed for down
In
there
Cincinnati,
weather-wise?
it is turf.
Yeah, that's right. So that
Have you taken an early look at what we got weather-wise?
It's not. The one I saw was upper 40s and cloudy. Again, I will take that in December.
Sure.
They're usually at least 10 degrees warmer than
Yeah.
us. Oh, my God. They got 58 on Friday. Yeah, it's 47. No rain. Cloudy, but almost 50 degrees.
Perfect.
That's fantastic.
Light winds.
It's luxurious, really, is
Yeah.
what I would call it.
Yeah, that is very, very good. So, look, it was a necessary. You got to play your first game sometime. There he is, the great Scarlett.
Scarlet.
Sliding around. Looks like he's at a little more pace than normally for him.
Yeah.
Scarlett was on the trip.
Yeah, he was.
Went to Houston.
That's right.
Is that a rarity? I assume he always was on the trips.
I was shocked that he was able to grace us with his presence on our plane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's not. You guys are beneath
So,
him. He's not doing that. He's
I'm getting ready to go out to eat with the radio crew. Uber Black shows up. It is a nice little Escalade.
Sure it is.
Guess who pops out?
Scarlett.
That guy.
Of course he does.
Of course he does.
How do you think he's operating?
They opened the door for him.
That's
He's a
right.
man
I
of
look and I'm like,
consequence.
boy, must be nice to be you.
Yeah,
He's
that's
a
right.
man of real consequence.
Yeah, he's not doing some sort of standard Uber. I mean, come on.
No. I
Guy's
mean,
got a
this thing
first-class
pulled up, and I
honor.
was like, who is it? Who is out on the
Yep.
town? Well,
Star guy
yeah, just our guy living his best life.
chasing down leads, working on his non-regional diction. That's all
Can't
he's
wait to
doing.
work for him.
Maybe someday.
Maybe.
Buying or selling a home with Howard Hanna Real Estate Services, always a winning strategy. If you plan to make a move this season, they'll have you covered at Howard Hanna. Every day is game day. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns today. Coming up next, one thought from every game from Sunday. There were some good ones, some bad ones. We go through it all coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, enter for your chance to win Browns season tickets, free Milk-Bone dog treats for a year and more. It's all courtesy of Milk-Bone, the official dog treat of the Cleveland Browns. Visit browns.com/milkbone to enter, then visit your local Meijer to check out all the varieties of Milk-Bone dog treats. You have that to look forward to, which is nice. Time for one thought from every game on Sunday. Hello, Gibby.
Hello, boys.
Come on.
Little one thought action. Let's dance.
I'm in.
Let's go Sunday night. It was close for a little bit. It was fun. It was interesting. And then the Indianapolis Colts showed their true colors. Cowboys 54, Colts 19. Bo Bishop, one thought while Zagura stretches somehow.
I'm in agony.
That's all he does every week.
All I was thinking about, you said let's dance, and I was trying to remember the next part of that is the Burgundy line. Let's dance, blankweed. And I couldn't place it as Burgundy, Papa Burgundy. That's great. Look, I will stick to the rules here, and I will say that the one thought is that the Indianapolis Colts are who we thought they were, and you get a little emotional bump, as I think we properly projected on the scores when they first got Jeff Saturday, that you get a little emotional bump with it, and hey, remember Peyton Manning and all of that. But in the end, it's a bad ball, and it's a bad football team, and so they were pretty much exposed by a really good Dallas team.
Zagura.
Yeah, Cowboys just took it to them, especially at the end of the game. By the way, Malik Hooker having a nice little career resurgence with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
He scored in this one. But, yeah, the Colts are dreadful. I did appreciate, though, I don't know when the last time is that I've seen a losing team victory formation out of game.
I'll admit I did not watch to the end, so they did that.
The Colts victory formation. And
They just
said,
knelt
we'll
it
see
out,
we'll
and we'll
see on down the road.
54-19, we'll see on down the road. Really?
Victory formation. Or in this case,
Yeah.
beating formation.
This was one where my new operation that I'm doing, White Lotus ends, I flip over, it's in the fourth quarter, and it's 40-something to
It's a bloodletting.
and I go, well, no need to continue with this. I can go to sleep.
Yeah. By the way, so you did last night was your Yellowstone night,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Kind of a non-episode.
Yeah, other than the absurdity of the fight at dinner, which is just so stupid, just absurd.
We're going to stand outside, and we're just going to stand in front of
It's
each
just
other and
stupid.
exchange
I mean,
punches.
it was just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I didn't mind it though, because it was kind of like a day in the life of the ranch,
I guess,
which I thought was kind of, they didn't advance any storyline,
right.
But in terms of like how a branding or a roundup works,
Yeah.
they did that to a T. And I think what you got is like the last 10 minutes, you saw why people fell in love with that show during the pandemic, because it's like a bunch of cowboys saddling up horses,
doing beautiful stuff
with the sun coming up, and we're going to ride out and do beautiful things. I mean, that was
and everything only happens in a 2-month period in Montana.
very short period. Yeah.
It's great.
We used to go to my Uncle Wayne's to brand, and I remember, or to Roundup, and it was like that. It was a 2-day deal, and it was at his house about 45 minutes from where I grew up, and I remember like we had to be there by 5 a.m. So my dad we'd get up at like 3:30. Dad was like, let's get the horses saddled. We're trailering them. Let's go. And we'd be there by between 5 and 5:30 on horseback before 6 to go get them. And it was cold and awful. Awful.
It's amazing that you've done this stuff. It's wild.
Awful.
It really is incredible.
City Slickers. Not.
Brutal.
Late games on Sunday in Week 13 of the National Football League. One thought from Bengals. Chiefs. Bengals 27, Chiefs 24. If the playoffs started today, KC would be the number 2 seed. They've dropped from number 1 with that loss. Tennessee still at the 5 seed. Zagura, one thought from you.
So is Buffalo the one?
Yes.
Now?
Buffalo's
the
the one
tiebreaker.
Kansas City, their kryptonite, the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Browns, the kryptonite for the Bengals, as of recent history anyway.
And therefore,
we're winning the Super Bowl. No, incredible job by the Bengals defense once again, and Burrow makes throws when he needs to. And I don't know if this is right or not, but it feels like Samaje Perine is adding a little more to their offense right now than Mixon has this year.
Well, that's not surprising.
he 100% is. So
Yep.
Mixon hasn't been really right all year. P. Ryan's given him something. It's amazing how long they've held on to P. Ryan. Like he's been there for a really long time.
Yep.
Both Oklahoma guys.
Yep.
I think P. Ryan preceded, I think he's even older than Mixon at OU, if memory serves. I can't remember exactly, but they're both Oklahoma guys. This thing comes down to Burrow is incredibly clutch.
Oh, my goodness.
He makes a throw on 3rd and 11 to T. Higgins in the size of a pinhole that if it falls incomplete or if it's intercepted, Kansas City clearly wins. Mahomes goes right down, and you know they're going to get points. But he doesn't. He sticks it on him. They catch it. Game over. We'll see you the next time out. He's stunning. I've been projecting this coming with them for a couple of weeks. I've talked about them, about the way they're playing. They are really sturdy defensively, and they did a lot of this without Chase, and now they have him back. He had 7 for 97, including a clutch first down on that last drive to extend the clock, keep the clock turning against Kansas City. To me, Cincinnati, they feel like a team right where they were a year ago, and maybe even better.
That defense is nothing to
to
go to sleep.
It's a real
on.
deal, man.
They are really good as well.
They suffocated Tennessee last week, and then get the Kansas City.
They do just what they need to do.
Yeah,
hold them in check.
They are good. Von Bell's good. Jermaine Pratt, a guy we talked about a lot on this program.
Von Bell was a scrap heap guy, like coming out of New Orleans. Nobody wanted him.
No,
he's been great for them.
Last year he was not as good. This year he is excellent.
Yeah.
From the AFC West, the Raiders. They've won 3 in a row. They are 5-7 on the year. They knock off Los Angeles and the Chargers 27-20. Chargers 6-6 on the season. Bishop, one thought from you.
Do you know who's leading the NFL in rushing?
Who?
Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
1,300 yards
Not
or better.
too shabby.
He's leading them in rushing. He thought he was going to be another one of those first-round picks who was on the scrap heap for them. He's rejuvenated his career. They've played really well, like 3 weeks in a row. And also shame on me for ever picking a team Brandon Staley coaches, because they're just incompetent.
It's
based on the talent.
Their offensive play
awful.
calling is horrific.
It's awful.
They have Justin Herbert, and he is special, and they are terrible. Devontae Adams is ridiculous. Every single week he has been finally.
He's been good.
No, like they had trouble going to him.
They lost a bunch of close games early. I don't know. They've been good for about 3 weeks now. Here's a little quiz question for you. So do you guys know who the all-time receiving touchdown leader is? I know that you do. That is, of course,
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice, the 197. So number 2 is Aranda Moss with 156.
Yeah.
The active leader is Devontae Adams.
85.
He's in the 80s. Yeah. That's something.
So Gibbe.
Think about, he's 110 away from Rice. 30 years ago today, Rice broke the record from Steve Largent.
And how old's Devontae Adams? He's been in the league.
He's been in the league a while.
Yeah.
30 years ago today, Rice broke the record by Largent. He went 101, right?
This is his 9th season.
Then he played 12 more years and finished with 197.
Devontae's getting it going, though, lately. He's got 40. Yeah. He's got 41 and counting in the last 3 seasons. But Gibbe, early in the year, first game, he had 141 and a touch, then 12 yards and a touchdown, 36 and a touchdown, 101, 124 and 2, 95, no touchdown, 3 yards, no touchdown against the Saints. And then he has been on fire of late. 146 and 2, 126 and 1, 141 and 2.
How do you throw up that line against the Saints?
74, no touchdown, and then this week 8 for 177 and 2. They've won 3 in a row. They're going to look back at the season and say, we should have beaten the Chargers in week 1. They should have. They lost by 5 there. We should have beaten Arizona in week 2. We were up big in that one.
That one was brutal.
They lose that by 6. They should have beaten the Titans week 3. They lose that one by 2. They lose to the Chiefs by 1. They get blanked and abused by the Saints 24-0 in one of the. That was an insane one. And then they lose to Jacksonville 27-20, followed by Indy 25-20. I mean, this is a team that
they're like us, man.
Yeah,
a lot of similarities.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5. Same record, 5-7.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, guys, the 49ers beat Miami. It cost them a lot, though. The Dolphins lose 33-17. Miami on the season now 8-4. The 49ers 8-4, and they maintain a 1-game lead in the NFC West. Pedro, not Pedro. One thought.
2 things.
2 things?
2 things. 3. Number 1. Nerd, how good is this defense? We're all over Tua, Nerd. Told you, we're so good. And the game started with a 75-yard touchdown on I think the first play or first drive, certainly. First play from scrimmage, Trent Sherfield from Tua. They shut him down, 3 interceptions. He was rattled for the first time all year. And then we've talked about this defense. DeMeco Ryans, he's been incredible. But for Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, to come in, go 25 of 37 for 210, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception is absolutely stunning against a very good Miami Dolphins defense. That's a shocker. The question now is, do they roll with Brock Purdy? What do they do at quarterback?
As you guys know, from my time with Kyle, I've always described him as a gangster.
You're right.
I think that he might be the only true offensive genius coaching in the National Football League. When he coaches against his former dudes, he suffocates them. LaFleur, McDaniel, McVay, and he's always got lesser.
Yeah.
Feels like he's got lesser, and they win. I mean, he's got Brock Purdy, for God's sakes. He's a very average quarterback from Iowa State last year. He's Mr. Irrelevant. By the way, first Mr. Irrelevant to ever throw a forward pass in the National Football League. Ever. Let alone touchdown.
How many of them have been quarterbacks?
Mike Florio today on Pro Football Talk in his power poll, he's like, reason to be concerned if you're Miami after that game. And I'm like, no, you went up against your mentor, and your mentor smoked you.
Yeah.
Yes, but confidence, as we know, is a big thing, and we have to see how Tua responds to this. This is the first time that he was inaccurate all year. It was the first time he appeared to be rattled all year. And so how does he respond to that? Because they're not just going to sleepwalk to the Super Bowl. The AFC is very challenging.
No, they're ahead of schedule, though, I think, anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Up next from the NFC West, Seattle keeps pace with the San Francisco 49ers. They beat the Rams, the helpless Rams, 27-23. Zagura, one thought from you.
I love just the competitiveness. DK Metcalf talking trash to Ramsey. Metcalf had a great game in this one. Bobby Wagner did everything he could to take down his former team on the Rams side of things. It's just incredible that this is a Seahawks-Rams, which has been recently with Stafford, Russell Wilson. Before that, Goff, who had taken the Rams Super Bowl, Russell Wilson, that it was Geno Smith, and I don't even know, Wolford, and then he got knocked out wild. But Geno Smith's legit. The combination of Lockett and Metcalf is legit. Mm-hmm. And the Seahawks they're kind of a fun team. Fun team each week.
They can go straight to hell, though, because they didn't cover, and that's ridiculous against this Rams team.
Yeah, the Rams are
It's a joke. Yeah. Like, this Rams team is pathetic, and they didn't cover, so I have no use in giving them any more praise than that.
Fine. Fair.
Yeah.
From the early games, one thought, Week 13, Philly 35, Tennessee 10. Titans fall to 7-5. Philly now 11-1 on the football season. Bishop, one thought.
Yeah. I just with Philly, I was reserving to see them play good teams because they haven't played too many of them to this point. I'm good now. Okay, I've seen enough now. Not that Tennessee's some juggernaut. They play Dallas, I think, in 3 weeks. That'll be one when you really know. But I've seen enough now that I think this team has built confidence amidst winning, even if who they're beating isn't necessarily that impressive. Self-belief's a powerful thing, and they believe bigly. And they're going to be a tough train to stop. They're going to be, 11-1? They're going to be 13-1 when they play Dallas. They have the Giants and then another garbage team between them and playing the Dallas game in a couple of weeks. They're going to be 13-1 when they play the Cowboys.
Zagura.
The Eagles are good. This was a beating of the Tennessee Titans.
It was.
And it feels like Malik Willis, we said it earlier in the season, I think we're right. Like, this is a team that is in no threat to win the Super Bowl, even if they end up winning their division, which I think they will almost by default. They're not good. You got to see what you have there. And obviously the A.J. Brown trade, we said at the time, one of the more idiotic trades I've ever seen.
Pretty sure
in the
it got
NFL.
the Titans GM fired today.
Yeah, I think today.
Well, you saw the video that went around of, like, Vrabel getting up and getting away from the table after that.
War room
after
shaking
that
his
was
head.
announced.
Yeah, he was pissed.
Yeah.
Up next, guys, real quick. Lions 40, Jaguars 14. Zagura, one thought.
The Lions are fun, man. They're kind of fun. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence goes down, escaped a scary injury, but they were not good. Goff was on fire in this one. 76%, 342 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown. DeAndre Swift finally was kind of used the way that you thought he would be used. We didn't even really see. I think he played, 6 snaps or ran 6 routes, got 1 target, Jamison Williams. This is a fun team, and this is a team that, let me throw this at you. If Tom Brady says, you know what, I just want to go play in a dome. Now, the Niners obviously make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But if not, you drop Tom Brady into that division, I mean, they could
Wasn't
be
that your idea to
dominant.
put Stafford back there?
Send Stafford back. Somebody. This is a ready team with a good quarterback. And
Yeah.
I think Goff is
Goff's
fine,
fine.
but if you look at his dome and road splits, it's insane. Indoors, he's very good. Outdoors, not.
Yeah. Did we talk about this? Do you guys know what they were going to do with Jameson Williams? Did you guys see this?
No, tell me.
They were going to use him as a gunner in his first game back.
What?
And they got talked out of it.
Yeah.
The plan from Dan Campbell was to use him as a gunner. The first receiver,
stop doing
was he the
this.
first receiver off the board or the second? Was it Drake London first?
Drake
Wherever
London
it
was
was.
first.
He was
But
a
he was
top
right there.
10, top
Yes.
10 receiver pick.
Yep.
If he was healthy, would have been the first. He's a burner. He's coming off a catastrophic knee. In his first game back, they were going to use him at gunner, and then they got talked out of it. They just need somebody up there to say, dude, you don't have to eat raw meat every day.
Yep.
Just chill out. Mix in a salad.
Ah, tasty.
That's all you got to do because they've got everything else. They're really close, and they're not out of it in the postseason because of how crazy the NFC is.
Yep.
All right, guys, we got to hurry this up a little bit. Zagura, one thought from you. Packers 28, Bears 19.
Christian Watson is living up to the hype.
Yeah.
It took a while, and sometimes that's okay because now he's on fire, and he has been electric for the Packers, and he's somebody the Browns were interested in. You think he'd look pretty nice as a compliment to our other guys.
First time in NFL history, somebody other than the Bears is the all-time winningest franchise. It's appropriate that the Packers should do it. Rodgers does not lose to them. This was the easiest pick of the week, or one of them for me.
Packers not dead just yet. Vikings
No.
27, Jets 22. Bo, one thought.
It's interesting. I'll go the Jet side of this. I don't know if you saw the stuff from Garrett Wilson post-game. Like, they're done with Zach Wilson.
It's unreal.
Done. Like,
Yeah.
that dude turned everybody off. Mike White wasn't great. Can write a hell of an episode of White Lotus, but he wasn't great. They lost, but they still got his back.
Zagura, one thought from you. Ravens 10, Broncos 9. Gutless.
Big loss, man.
Gutless
Lamar.
Broncos.
Lamar could be a couple weeks. It's week
1 to
week
3
now.
weeks, but I mean, come on, Broncos. Can't you stop? You've stopped them all
No,
game.
they suck.
Gutless.
Suck. Terrible.
Bishop,
Horrible, as Bootsy would say.
one thought. Steelers not dead either. Squealers 19, Falcons 16.
It makes me sick, but they have culture. Like, they're not capable of bottoming. They're not going to be. I don't know if they're going to get to 500. I don't think that they will, but they just will not bottom out. And they just have so much belief in who they are that they play hard every week. This was a relative easy pick, too, for that reason.
By the way, that'll be a big one this week. Ravens visiting the Squealers. Final one. Commies 20, Giants 20, overtime.
Honestly, really?
Can we just
We
keep
get rid of-
playing until there's a win?
Or if you want to, start with a 30-yard field goal.
Do the
35,
college.
40, 45, 50,
Just-
55, 60, 65 until somebody wins.
It's really easy.
Something.
Do the college overtime, turn off the stats. That's it.
Yep.
That's all you got to do. That solves it. Then you get restitute. You can't have this.
Too much goes
nonsense.
into a game for a tie.
Absolutely. There's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion. Barking Backers, presented by Milkbone, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. Coming up in the second hour of the program, a little better or worse, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, as well as Charles Robinson. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And skip the chore of laundry. Enjoy Life.Laundry. Tide Cleaners offering 30% off dry cleaning for the month of November. Just mention promo code Browns. Visit TideCleaners.com to find the closest location nearest you. Some exclusions may apply. Pop quiz for the two of you. Who has the most touchdown passes in a 2-year span of 30 yards or more this century? Which quarterback? A two-year span. Most 30-yard plus touchdown passes in a 2-year span since the year 2000.
Mahomes.
Gibbe?
I guess it's going to end up being Burrow, but
there
Mahomes
you go.
have been my guess.
Burrow with 22. Second on the list is Dante Culpepper, thanks to Randomoss.
Randomoss.
Third is Peyton Manning, and tied for third is Eli Manning. Those are your top four. Plexico Burress, Odell Beckham Jr. Helped with
Forgot
a lot
about
of those.
Plaxico.
Yeah. Manning with Reggie and Marvin Harrison. But Burrow has the most. 22 of them of 30 yards or more for a team we'll see this Sunday.
That's right.
Hello, Gibbe. Higher, lower?
Higher lower presented by
Better. Or worse.
Keep It Fun Ohio from the Ohio Lottery, who reminds you to know the risks before you gamble. This compliments of NFL.com and Dan Henzis. First and foremost, he has your Cleveland Browns at number 20. Couple teams in front of us include the Patriots, the Chargers, and the Lions. Behind us, the Packers, the Squealers, and the Cardinals. Or just right, Zagura will lead you off here.
I mean, we are what we are. I'd like to think that in a game right now we'd be favored over the Lions, but the fact is we've lost to the Chargers, we lost to the Patriots head-to-head. We're a different team now. We did just beat the Buccaneers 2 weeks ago, who are ahead of us on this list.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that we're probably in the range. We should be in the 15 to 20 range, 21 range. So we're properly ranged. I think that, though, you could make the case we should be a little bit better. But we've got to prove that consistently. We'll get a chance.
I just do not understand or continue to understand the New England Patriots and the love and the pass that they seem to
They
get.
whipped us, though, here.
They whipped
Fine.
us.
Whipped us.
Fine,
Like,
but you're 6
I'm
and
with
6,
ya.
and they're
know.
not a
No.
good football team.
they're not. But, like, that was one of the most – that one was rock bottom for me. I know other ones were more painful in the way that they ended, but that was so dispiriting, that game. Against New England. I think we would be an underdog if we played Green Bay on a neutral field right now. I think that would probably be the case. Be close. Probably 2 or 3, something like that. Arizona, who I think sucks. I think what's us in Pittsburgh? I mean, we'd be favored for sure, but it's probably not much. We got to do it, man. We got to. I agree.
You
we
have
gotta,
to go
we
there
gotta
and
go
win a
do
regular
it. We
season
got to
game.
go. We got to stack them. We haven't looked good on both sides of the ball since the Bengals game, and that one was kind of on an island.
By the way, speaking of that, the ESPN Power Poll, their Power Poll came out today as well. They've got Pittsburgh 19. They have us 23.
Yeah.
Come on, Trotter. What the hell's going on over there?
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's not right. Yeah.
Yeah. Next,
Higher or lower?
the Eagles come in at number 1. The Dallas Cowboys are number 2. The Bengals at number 3. Bo Bishop, higher, lower, or just right?
So, okay, this always comes back to what's your philosophy on one of these. Is who you think is this the team, how you think they'd play if they were in the Super Bowl right now, or how they played this week. It appears that Dan is rewarding for what they did this week. And if that is the case, then Cincinnati should be 2, not 3. So they should be higher. They beat Kansas City. Kansas City hadn't lost in 7 games and was playing the best football in the league. Dallas beat a brutal Indy team, whipped them, acknowledge it.
What?
But
Not till the fourth quarter.
Yeah, then it got out of control. But, like, if you're just doing it that way, now, do I think Cincinnati's going to the Super Bowl? No, probably not. I think they got a shot. But if you're basing it, it looks to me like he's doing this very week to week. And if that's the case, then I'd have Cincinnati higher. I'd have them 2 behind Philly.
Zagura.
I would agree with you. I'd put them higher right now. We'll see what happens when they play us. But, yeah, I think I'd put them at 2. Philly, Buffalo, Dallas, the Bengals, and the Chiefs, to me, those 5 are in their own area. Now, you'd say to me, but Nathan, the Vikings beat the Bills, and they did. But I still feel like on a neutral field, those 5 would all be favored over the Vikings. The Niners are the team that had a chance, and I think the Dolphins still are a very good and very dangerous football team.
I would add I like what you did there because I think I'm with you. I think there are 5 teams that are going to win the Super Bowl, and it's Philly, Dallas, Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Kansas City.
I wouldn't count out the Dolphins.
I would have had Miami. I would have had San Francisco in it for sure.
Yep.
Had Garoppolo not got hurt, they would have been the 6th. Miami is right on that cusp.
Yep.
Because I'm with you. There were some wrinkles with Tua that were a little concerning.
Yeah. How he responds will be very important.
Next.
Higher or lower?
Number 4, the Buffalo Bills. Number 5 is Kansas City. Number 6 is Minnesota. Number 7, the 49ers. Agura, higher, lower, just right.
He's got Tennessee too high. I don't know if you're getting into that.
Tennessee is way too high.
Well, I said the 49ers.
I know we're talking.
About,
Yes, I was responding to my co-host.
I was just
comments.
looking. I was looking at the teams around them because I always want to know like who you putting. How far can you drop them? They just beat Miami with Brock Purdy.
Right. No, you got to keep them there, but Brock Purdy is disconcerting. The thing is about it is once you get after this top 8, I think it falls off a cliff. Tennessee, the Jets, the Ravens, Seattle, the Commies, the Giants, the Raiders. I think it falls off a major cliff. They're still in that group because their defense is so dominant, but. It's who knows? Brock Purdy. By the way, David Njoku on Instagram today saying, back to your regularly scheduled programming, hinting that he will be back for the Browns this week, as we told you a little earlier.
So give me the last Super Bowl contender, and I think they've always been, especially, I mean, when they get McCaffrey, it goes to a whole other level. Give me the last Super Bowl contender that lost 2 starting quarterbacks for the year in the same year. Lance Garoppolo.
None. 0.
They only had 2 on their roster last week, Garoppolo and Purdy.
Yeah.
Who the hell was the emergency quarterback when Garoppolo went down?
Don't know.
Probably a wide receiver.
Debo?
Probably.
McCaffrey?
They just runs. Yeah, probably. Just run some kind of
Wildcat.
That's crazy.
read option wildcat offense.
And they would have probably ran for 170
They
yards
probably
doing
would've.
it.
I was going to
fine.
say they would have been good doing it.
I mean,
Next.
it's crazy, their situation they're in.
Higher or lower?
All right, the Dolphins 8, the Titans 9, the Jets at 10, Ratbirds at number 11, Bishop, higher, lower, just right.
Do you think you brought this up earlier in the week, I think. Should we move the trade deadline
Yes.
Yes.
back?
Yes.
Like if you're San Francisco.
2 weeks at least.
I think right now. Why not right now?
Yeah. Like if you have a late season injury and you got a ready-made team, you should be able to make a deal. The penalty is what the penalty is, like in terms of you have to give up more or whatever.
You're right. You're going
But
to
if you feel like you're close, yeah.
I'm with you.
Ratbirds 11. I think they're better than Tennessee right now, even without knowing what's going on with Lamar. They're not great. You want to talk about easy schedule? I mean, they might play. They got nothing. They got to play Cincinnati at the end.
I'll say this: all of a sudden, the Pittsburgh games aren't gimmies,
This is some of this
especially
stuff
with
here,
no Lamar.
Yeah, some of this stuff in here is really. Some of these games in here are really brutal. Some of these teams, I mean. Baltimore's they're 8-4, so you have to give them credit for that. They've won most of their tough games. Here's how they finish: at Pittsburgh, at us, Falcons at home, Steelers at home, at Bengals. That's their last 5 games. We're going to be a full day for them. Pittsburgh shouldn't be, but it might end up being. And then at Cincinnati should determine the division. I bet it does.
Probably Sunday Night Football. Probably that
I would
will
think.
be the one. Final one.
Higher or lower?
Segura, are you just taking the rest of the segment off? What do you
No.
got going
It's
on?
frustrated by
just-
the Baltimore
I'm just so frustrating that we're
in this position.
yes.
No,
Boy,
it is what
Cincinnati's got us at Bucks, at Patriots, Bills at home, Ravens at home.
it is. Yeah.
If Baltimore lost to Denver, I would have felt so much better. But now if we win the next 2,
Yeah.
we beat the Bengals, we beat the Ravens, we get to 7-7 with the Saints, the Commies, and the Steelers left, and we at that point we would be 4-1 in the division.
Yeah.
You'd feel pretty good.
Yeah,
about
this one can springboard you. Bigly.
This is it. I mean, this is a playoff game.
Yep.
You win this, you're kind of dangerous. You lose this, it's over at that point.
All right, we've got about 60 seconds left here. Number 32 is Houston. At number
Clearly.
31, would you put the Rams, the Broncos, or the Colts? Who's the second worst team in the NFL?
The current Rams.
Yeah.
Ahead of
I don't think the current Rams are capable of beating anybody as constructed now.
No.
Not
Yeah,
sure
Indy
Denver
still
is
has
either.
Jonathan Taylor. Well, Denver, didn't they just beat somebody last week? Didn't they win last week? They won a weird
Stand
game. I thought they just won last week.
Denver lost to the Ravens.
No, the week before, I mean. I'm sorry, Nick.
Did
They're
they?
3-9. No, they've lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, no, they're dreadful.
Yeah, they do suck.
Yeah, they're not.
Maybe I'm confusing losing with covering. I think they've covered a couple in a row. Yeah, that's it. Oh my God, yeah, they lost to Carolina 23 to 10.
That's exactly.
Grossness.
That's why I'm like, are we
Just
sure they're not the
grossness.
second worst
No,
team?
they suck. Those teams are brutal.
Yeah.
Awful.
No first-round picks.
All 4 of those.
So right now,
Are hot
the
garbage.
Lions are picking second overall from the Rams, and the Seahawks are picking 4th. What are they picking? 4th or 5th overall?
Got to be a top 5. Has to be.
Yeah,
Denver's dreadful.
yeah. They're 3-9, so they're gonna. Seattle's gonna get pick of the litter. Remember we said they were tanking to get C.J. Stroud? They don't even need to. Denver tanked for him.
Yep.
All right, Jeremiah Wusu-Koromoa coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Friends at the Bath Authority can take that bathroom you have and make it a bathroom of your dreams. A spa-like experience in that sucker after they're done with it. Let the Bath Authority make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is Cleveland's premier bath and shower remodeler. They are excellent. They are experts. They are all factory-trained installers. You give them a call now. You get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. The number is 216-220-8399. Tell them both sent you. Go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. The largest selection of bath projects all made in the United States. Change your bathroom from outdated to outstanding. Acrylic tubs that insulate and keep the heat in. Tub to shower conversion. Superior products and expert installers. Go check out my friends at the Bath Authority. 216-220-8399 or thebathauthority.com. And now here's Jeremiah Wusu-Koromo at the podium.
Hey, Jeremiah. Coach is torn
You guys are down.
out for the year with the torn ACL. Just how disappointing is that for you guys, especially how well he's been playing?
Yeah, man, it's disappointing every time, we hear of, one of our teammates that we've gone through, much energy, much effort, many hours, many minutes with, go down. But Sione is a higher energy guy. No matter what occurs or no matter what happens, I'm sure you continue to see him around the facility, continue to see him around the linebacker room, energetic on the sidelines, if they allow him to, being involved, continuously helping us out with our calls and fits and everything. It's disappointing, but, we have to, play the cards that's been dealt to us.
Personnel-wise, how do you go about filling the void when that's the third middle linebacker you've lost?
Oh, personnel-wise, I mean, we all can, we're in the NFL. Our job is to fill in and do what the coaches require of us to do. And personnel-wise, we'll make the changes, we'll adjust, and we'll see what comes out of it.
Jeremiah, you mentioned that Sione will probably be back with you guys and talking with you, and you're not going to lose that part of him in the locker room. But is there something about what he's been able to do this season that you think will stick with you guys in terms of on the field, something you've taken away from his efforts so far this year?
Yeah, well, he's a large communicator. No matter whether he's at Sam or Mike, he's a large communicator. He's able to, get the guys aligned. He's also a guy that watches a lot of film too. In that aspect.
Yeah, Jeremiah, I know yesterday was a bit of a coming out for Tony Fields, but you've been around him now for a little while. Just what did that mean to the room to see him step in? And he's really had an expanded role here recently. What'd that mean to see him go out there and make a lot of plays?
Man, I knew when me and Tone came in that he was going to be a guy that took off at some point. By just the way he played in college. I thought he played pretty similar to me on this tape. With his his aggression and his ability to get from point A to point B and just be instinctive. So he's shown that the last two games and really all season on special teams doing his thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. I really am.
And then do you guys feel like you're starting to get it rolling a little bit? We talked to you after the Tampa game and just kind of the excitement that you guys played your best game where you're starting to stack them a little bit here. Do you feel like you guys are starting to get some things rolling here?
Oh, you guys can see, what progress we're starting to make, stopping around a little bit more, being very, having a high intent to be able to take away the ball, and just wanting to communicate more, wanting to be around the guys more, wanting to be together more, wanting to stop the offense, to have that pride and have that Cleveland on your chest and really represent it. So we're getting into the flow. I wouldn't say that we're there yet. I wouldn't even say that we're close yet. I think we're just getting started. And as time goes, you'll see things start to continue to progress.
Hey, Joe, okay, you go from that facing that Texas offense, which hasn't had much success, to the Bengals next week. So what kind of challenge does Joe Burrow in that game present you?
First and foremost, our when teams look at our film, they believe that our weak point is the run game. And the Texans didn't have a good run game, if you ask me. A really nice running back, a really nice scheme, actually, to their run game. And the Bengals also do have a run game, believe it or not. Nixon is a pretty similar running back as 3-1. So we'll see a lot of not different looks, but the Texans threw more eye candy at us. The Bengals are more of a what I'm doing now, stop me type of team. So they're not going to try to be too difficult with trying to fool you here and fool you there. But they are a team that is very prideful in what they do. Burrow is very prideful in what they do, what he does. So we'll be looking to see what comes out of it.
Yeah, Joe. Okay, just wondering, how do you feel about the state of the linebacking core right now, with with Taki out and Tony emerging a little bit? You're back from your injury. Where are you guys now at linebacker as a group?
Yeah, well, there's a time and place for everything. Last night I'm sure some of the guys celebrated, but also some of the guys more a little bit. Just because we lost another essential piece to our puzzle. So, like I said, it's compartmentalization, able to understand, the time and the place and the energy that needs to be given. When we talk the top, we may give them high energy and we may, console with them. When we're talking to the rest of the guys, we may do the same thing. So it's just about, understanding balance and really understanding how we can, apply the necessary mood, the necessary motion, the necessary energy to that time and place. So.
Hey, Jeremiah, when you look at how Deshaun performed, I know everybody knew there'd be some kind of rust. Is there still a large sense of optimism that he'll be able to become his former self and do it in a hurry with the Bengals game coming up?
Yeah. There's no doubt about Deshaun's performance. I don't think. I truly believe that he's still that quarterback that he's that elite guy, that profound guy. We've seen him again. We talked about facing him from the defensive aspect. He's still tough. He played been off the field. I think somebody said 700 plays or so. 700 days. Yeah, 700 days. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm not saying, he's about to be the number one quarterback. No, but he's going to perform well. I know it. Just about what I've seen, he's going to be a great quarterback here for us, and it's going to be here a long time. So get used to him.
We talk about momentum in terms of the takeaways that the defense aims to get. You get one, the next one's come. Do you feel that in terms of in a game setting? If you maybe miss a tackle, you go back and get it. Do you feel that momentum building? How does that play out for you when you're out on the field?
Yeah, for me, I be just trying to do my job at the end of the day. So, if I miss a tackle, if I miss a fit,
back in 30,
wanting to go back to the sideline to correct that, but I do got to forget about it at the time. But again, the success of the defense is the success of myself as well. So I'm a part of the defense. So when the defense succeeds, I succeed and vice versa. So, I didn't play the best that I think I could have, yesterday, but the defense did play well. So much love, much glory, and let's keep going. Let's get 1-0 this week.
You're up.
Fans, mark your calendars for Face Up on the Lake, presented by Meijer. The first major outdoor hockey game at First Energy Stadium on February 18th. The Buckeyes and Wolverines, First Energy Stadium for a limited time. Purchase 4 tickets for $50. The mezzanine level. For more information, visit firstenergystadium.com/faceoff or call 440-891-5050. Can you imagine an Ohio State-Michigan Big Ten championship game ticket would go for?
I could, quite a bit. Gibbe, I'm just noticing that we got through better or worse.
We're supposed to go to break, but clearly you just roll right through the stop sign.
What stop sign?
Charles Robinson's up next.
Yeah.
Fine. Where's AP? That's what I want to know. Is he ducking me because of his trivia
No, he's
beating?
actually sick. He got sick.
Sad.
Well,
he's on the bench.
Sad.
He said we can talk. You can talk your trash next week.
Fine, I'll wait. Right. The victory will last that long.
All right, Charles Robinson up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If a car, truck, or motorcycle accident caused your injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. As we now head out on the Twisted Tea hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of the Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Our good buddy, NFL senior reporter for Yahoo, Charles Robinson, joins us. Charles, I'm pretty sure the last time we talked was in camp. It was really hot, and at that point we were looking at trying to understand if it was a 4 to 6 game suspension, not sure what it was going to be. Ends up being 11. It comes full circle because you're at the game on Sunday. What a strange journey this has been, my friend. How do you put all of that time into perspective?
Well, I think the perspective was on the field. I think we saw a quarterback who had 700 plus days between competitive, football plays, who had I don't know, when Kevin Stefanski talked afterward and the word jittery came up about Deshaun, to me, you go back into Houston, he sees, ex-teammates there on the sidelines is warming up, sees Cal McNair, goes through that whole thing. The whole atmosphere itself lent to having a kind of a subpar, uneven game, even if there wasn't a 700-day break in between, like I said, competitive football. So I think everybody got what they were going to get regardless. This is how he was going to look, and I think the bigger deal now is, what does he look like the next game out? Now this is behind him, and I do feel like that's real, getting not only the suspension behind him, but getting the stepping on the field in Houston, that being the first game back behind him. It's more, there's a little more of a sense of normalcy, I guess, this week than there would have been last week. But I'll also say this, I will bet you he faces a much more enthusiastic greeting or unenthusiastic greeting against the Bengals than he did in Houston. Houston, it was just sheer apathy surrounding him other than the Browns fans. I don't think that's going to be the case against the Bengals.
Yeah, I got to run into Charles in the elevator on the way up to the press box down there in Houston, and you're right. It was a kind of a surreal environment, a very strange game. Obviously, the Browns went down there to win. They did that. It gets a lot tougher now, and you mentioned what's it going to look like. Charles, don't you think it's got to be a lot better from Deshaun Watson to have any chance against this Bengals team? And where would you put the Bengals right now in the AFC or even in the NFL at large?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. It's got to play a lot better. I think to me, when microcosm in that game of it felt like there was that moment where they're trying to engineer some sort of easy passes. Let's see if we can get them into a flow. And I don't remember if it was Chubb or if it was Kareem Hunt, but there was that throw into the flat where he skipped it.
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, that's like, you're even at that point, the staff, you can see like Kevin Stefanski's like, let me try to just get him an easy one. Let's try to make this, see if we can just get this moving. And that was the result. And, you can't, that's a pretty bad sign. I mean, that's sort of okay, this is going to be more of a journey over the course of the remainder of the season, getting him into a flow than and remember, I mean, it's a terrible Houston Texans team. So
yes.
it's you're right. I mean, he's going to have to be far closer to what he was at the end of his career in Houston than he was at the start of his career as a Cleveland Brown. And Cincinnati they're rolling. I mean, I think from a confidence standpoint, it was interesting. Joe Burrow said, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, he said like he feels them getting into that groove that they got into late last season where they were just hitting green lights all the way. Everything was breaking their way. Everything was going right. And then they go out and they beat the Chiefs. I mean, there's nothing to suggest that he's wrong. They're hitting their stride. Jamar Chase comes back in, looks decent, probably 90%, but I mean, 90% of Jamar Chase is pretty
really
darn good. T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins stepped into the number one wide receiver role and was like, yeah, look it, no problem. And so it's, they've got their hands full. The defense, it's nice that the defense is coming off of a game that should give them some confidence because they're going to need it against Cincinnati. And they're really going to have to continue to play that role while Deshaun Watson works out the kinks as they move forward.
Charles, I want to go back to Sunday for a second with you. You mentioned apathy, I believe was the word you used to kind of describe the situation down in Houston. So I wasn't there. You guys were both there. The way that it was portrayed on the broadcast and the way that the booing made it seem like it was a raucous crowd, and he was being fed to the lions, and there was this booing. Like
that wasn't real.
The booing was, but if you just watched it on television, it was a very different story that was told. So when I hear you say the apathy, and Nathan said that when he came back on Monday, why not just let it be? And it wasn't full or even remotely full, right? That's the other part of it.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, what was interesting, I think by halftime you got to the point where whoever was going to be there was there. And it was, like, to me, eyeballing it, again, this is not scientific, it looked like a 50-60% capacity situation. It was spread out. It was sort of like, if you jammed everybody into the lower bowl, you'd probably fill that and 5, 6, 7 rows up the second bowl. But, I mean, it was, definitely was closer to half full than anything else. And to me, it was interesting because I heard Mike Florio say on the Sunday Night Football broadcast where he said, like, Deshaun Watson was booed, like, every single time.
Yeah.
Like, he and I was like, that's just not – I mean, no offense to Mike. I like Mike. Like, we're friends. But it was a situation where early in the game, when he went to the line of scrimmage, you hear the boos, and you're like, okay, that's for him, for sure. Then I think as you kind of got out of the first quarter – it was like, okay, this is more average garden variety football booing. It's just it wasn't thunderous. I didn't even think it was that field level. It sounded loud, but I think it was just sort of, I don't know if it was the acoustics of empty or what it was, but it just was not that kind of environment. Yeah. It was weird to see it portrayed as that because I'm like, when you stood outside. That, to me, my focal point at the beginning was, let me see what this looks like outside. Showed up early.
Nobody.
I'm like, man, there's nobody even here.
Yeah.
There's nobody here. There's no protest. There were tons of people coming in with Houston Texans jerseys with the number 4 on them, Watson. Like, it was almost, in a weird way, it felt like an international exhibition game. I mean, I'm like, there's a Blake Bortles jersey. There's a Dak Prescott jersey. It was like all these different jerseys. All the fans are congregating together. Like Texans fans, Browns fans are taking pictures together. Like, it just didn't materialize into this circus that I thought it could. And then when you went inside, I tweeted out 2 pictures. One, I think, was 25 minutes before the game. One was at kickoff. It was just totally sparse. There wasn't anybody there. And I thought another key moment that no one really saw when the game ended, I went on the field and I stood there and I watched him, sign some jerseys for some of his former Texans teammates. As you ran off, nobody was in the building except for, it looked like, maybe 2,000 Browns fans who stuck it out were down around their tunnel. And if you just saw that, and I think Albert Breer might have actually taken video of it, it looked like him running off the field, like in this heroic fashion where everybody screamed, it's like this. It was just not at all. I felt like people who were characterizing it were not necessarily people who were there.
Yes.
And if you were there, and we were there, it was a completely different experience. And I'm telling you, Cincinnati going to be way different. I think Cincinnati's the one where I could see it being far more hostile than it was in Houston.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, there's real heat in the sense that Joe Burrow has never beaten the Browns for whatever reason. They say styles make fights. The Browns have just had a lot of success against him. And yeah, I think there's obviously, Ohio.
The game earlier this year, right?
Right.
The game earlier this year.
Smoked
they got to be pretty pissed off about that. So,
yeah, smoked him on Monday Night Football. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, to your point, just to kind of tie the bow on this, it felt to me like the crowd was 50-50 Browns-Texans, or close to it. And of the Texans fans, it felt like a decent amount of those were there in Watson jerseys. So it was really a minority that would have been there to be anti-Watson if there were any. And when he came on the field before the game, it was all cheers. But it was all the Browns fans that were in the building at that
early,
time.
yeah.
Because the Browns fans,
Right.
the Browns fans had gotten into the stadium early,
Yeah.
and were there clearly just watch them warm up. And yeah, it wasn't. It was funny because initially I was surprised, and initially that first quarter, the first series, the boos, you're like, okay, wow, well, there's some decent boos for the number of people who are here. And I made the joke, like I'm sitting there with a couple other people, and I was like, are they pumping in like B-roll of a previous Davis Mills start?
Right.
Like, the home crowd booing B-roll, but
They did on the broadcast.
Yeah, it just
For sure they did on the broadcast. I can tell you at home, I thought it seemed like it was raucous and it was, being fed to the lions like at the Coliseum. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, it's so weird because being there, it was a completely different experience. And I don't really know what the answer is for that.
Sure.
Other than, it just, if you were there, it did not feel at all the way it was portrayed on TV or the way people talked about it, who clearly to me, I was like, oh, well, they weren't there. If they had been there, they'd know this wasn't nearly what it was made out to be.
Charles, a couple more minutes with Charles Robinson, our good buddy, senior NFL reporter at Yahoo. I wanted to ask you about the 49ers situation at quarterback with Garoppolo. 2 starting quarterbacks go down in a year. To me, they look like the Super Bowl team out of the NFC until this one happens. Now Brock Purdy thrust in there. Is there anything else they can do? What do you anticipate, if anything, them doing here? Are they just going to roll with Mr. Irrelevant, who looked pretty good in his one game?
Yeah, I don't. Obviously there's been talk about Baker Mayfield. That to me is such an odd. I feel like Kyle Shanahan has said some good things about Baker in the past. I remember being in front of Kyle in like 2019 and hearing him say some stuff about just sort of how Baker carried himself, things he liked about his attitude, whatever. I don't know that's. I guess personally, honestly, I'd be surprised if they claimed him. Even if he made it to their kind of waiver claim slot, I'd be surprised if they took him, just only because you're talking about a short period of time. You're talking about, as you said, Brock Purdy's been. I know he's a young guy, I know, but still he's been in the passing program. He knows the offense at this point. It's not. I mean, if he was in college, he'd be going into his sophomore year at this stage. It's like. It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense that they're going to go out and grab somebody who, you feel like you're going to have to finesse it and work with it and try to get him familiar and some chemistry. You're almost, I think with Purdy, you're almost better rolling with what you got. And by the way, I will say this about Kyle, in terms of getting someone ready to go quickly, I think he struggles more with guys who have a tendency to believe they're athletes and want to run around and do off-script stuff or make off-schedule throws, or maybe in Baker's case thinks he's a little bit better an athlete than he is at this stage. Whereas like Purdy, I think Purdy's just going to do what Kyle tells him.
Yes.
He's like,
Kyle likes that.
Back here. I'm going to throw it where you tell me to throw it to. I'm going to check down when I need to check down, and I'm just going to run the offense and let the guys around me do what they got to do. I think Kyle's like, cool, let's just roll with that and see where this goes. So it's wild because they have a hell of a team, and I mean they're picking up guys as they go, and the skill positions are amazing. The defense is rolling. Maybe a little bit of trouble at the offensive line position, other than obviously the all-world left tackle, but yeah, that's a huge hole all of a sudden in the NFC. And if you're the Cowboys and Eagles, you had to be doing a fist pump when you saw Garoppolo is likely lost for the season.
Always great talking to you, my friend. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you a great deal.
Absolutely, gents. Enjoy Cincinnati.
We will indeed.
Yes.
Senior NFL reporter for Yahoo, Charles Robinson, one of the great guests. Joining the program on Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, an official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. There's nothing quite like tailgating touchdowns in Twisted Tea. It tastes just like real iced tea. You know why? Because it's made with real brewed tea. Cool, refreshing, 5% kick of alcohol. It's thirst down and goal. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted. So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans can win big with the digital scratch-off game brought to you by Ohio Lottery on ClevelandBrowns.com and Browns social channels. Fans can play once per day throughout the regular season by digitally scratching off a virtual card for chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards and tickets to future games. For more information, log on to ClevelandBrowns.com. Here was another really interesting thing that came of the Randy Moss interview with the Mannings. So you remember the 1997 Heisman finalists were Manning, Chuck Woodson, Randy Moss, and Ryan Leaf were the four guys. And do you remember from that Moss wore sunglasses, Oakley sunglasses, to the award, and he wore them that night. He wore them during the ceremony and all of it, and took a lot of heat for, a lot of people. Oh, he's a thug. He can't take his glasses off. They took a lot of heat for it. And he explained that he felt suffocated by the entire experience, like all the cameras. Remember, he's from Huntington, Rand, West Virginia, Huntington area. He goes to Notre Dame. Lou Holtz calls Bobby Bowden. He something happened at Notre Dame. Lou Holtz calls Bobby Bowden. He says, take him. Bowden makes a deal with the president of Florida State and says, you got to get this guy in here. President of Florida State at the time, Sandy Dallenberg, says, fine, you can have him. One strike, he's out. But he has to redshirt. So he redshirts his entire freshman year, dominates one of the best defensive teams Florida State's ever had when they were in their heyday in the late 90s. Decides to go home for spring break, gets pinched, I think, for weed when he's back in West Virginia, and is thrown out of Florida State, ends up at West Virginia at Marshall. The rest is history. Wins a national championship, 1AA at Marshall, is a Heisman finalist at Marshall, all of those things.
Chad Pennington is quarterback.
That's correct. But the reason that he wore the sunglasses, he picked them up on the street.
1 minute.
They weren't Oakley's. He picked them up on the street so that he could hide behind the lenses because he was so uncomfortable by all of the lights of all that came with Heisman. One of those things where it's something that the perception is he's a punk.
Yeah, in reality.
In reality, he was just terrified.
Shy and terrified. Would you say that was is that the best top three ever? Throw Leaf out of it. Manning, Woodson, Moss?
In terms of they're all first ballot Hoffs.
That's what I mean.
Yes. I mean, I can't even imagine anything could be similar. In terms of their NFL career?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the best. This is the most important thing Charles Woodson did, because most people thought Manning should have won that Heisman that year. Charles Woodson validated the Heisman with his NFL career. Think about that.
Yeah.
And the fact that there hasn't been another defensive player is a shame, because there should be more. I voted for him several times. There should have been more. The next level coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.